This is the Purple for the Win podcast.
Great cash, homie.
With the seventh selection in the 2005 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Troy Williamson.
Now checking through his hands, and the Redskins will go to the Super Bowl.
Barnes got 5 to choose from. Got hit, got thrown down, and is shaken up.
As he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
Gary Anderson has missed a field goal for the first time in 2 years. Unbelievable.
Last year, the crooked Chicago Bears somehow, someway made the playoffs before they got slimed down in Nowlands. Not winning playoff games down in New Orleans within the last couple of years, I hate to see it. Anyway, so the Bears this year, they got rid of Mitchell Trubisky-Ponder, which sucks because there goes like half of our memes. And then the offseason, they signed Andy Dalton. That was your big move? Like, that's your big finish? And then they traded up heaven and earth to go get Justin Fields out of the Ohio State University, even though they're not putting a decent offensive line in front of them, which could be a problem with Justin Fields. And also, 1,000%. So all the rumors and conjecture that the Vikings were trying to trade up for Justin Fields, I think that it came straight from Chicago. Absolutely. Because if you're the Bears and if you want to hype up your guy, and if you're Ryan Pace and you want to back up the move that you made, wouldn't you leak out that a division rival is like, they were trying to trade up and get our guy, but we got him, but they wanted him, but we got him now. The Vikings were trying to trade up with Carolina. It was probably for J.C. Horn, knowing Zimmer, and the Vikings trying to trade up to 11 with the Giants was probably for Rashawn Slater. I don't think it was for Justin Fields at all, because if the Vikings wanted to trade for Justin Fields, they had the draft capital to go do it. But we've already litigated that. We won't relitigate it here. So we're going to go through the Bears depth chart and laugh at some names. It's going to be a good time. So let's start at the quarterback. So you got Andy Dalton, the Applebee's 2 for 20 of quarterbacks. Plus, you still have Nick Foles hanging around, where you should probably free Foles. Whatever. But, I don't think Foles is going to be on this lineup to be on this roster to start the season. I think Justin Fields will be quarterback, too. I think eventually, once the Bears season goes to pot, once they start out 2-5 or something like that, I think Justin Fields will get thrown in behind this offensive line. And the offensive line does have decent parts. I love me some Tevin Jenkins. I do question if he can't transition to left tackle. He was a great right tackle at Oklahoma State. I don't think this is a Jedrick Wills type situation where Wills was the right tackle at Alabama and he's phenomenal left tackle with the Browns. I don't think this is that situation. But, the rest of their offensive line, they picked up Larry Borum in the 5th round. I liked him coming out of Mizzou. But, James Daniels is good when he's healthy. Cody Whitehair I like a lot. But you're still potentially starting Jermaine Ifedi, man. Really. And Alex Bars, they spot started him last year. He's sort of whatever. So the fact that Justin Fields needs really good protection and you're rolling out that, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then the wide receivers. So Allen Robinson is on the franchise tag, making $17 million a year. Now, I like Allen Robinson, but it's very similar to the Matthew Stafford effect, where I like and respect Matthew Stafford. I think he's a tough competitor, but the offseason hype, like PFF and other outlets just really jacking up Allen Robinson. I don't get it. I think he would be best utilized as a really good number 2. I would take Thielen over Allen Robinson. That's no cap. And Jefferson is obviously not even close there. Darnell Mooney, I like a lot. Him coming out of Tulane last year, 5th round pick. A lot of fun. I think he's probably best utilized as a wide receiver 3, but he's in the number 2 spot. And then you got Riley Ridley. Now Calvin Ridley, the other one. And then Anthony Miller, where I had high hopes for Anthony Miller coming out of Memphis. He just really hasn't panned out. By the way, they signed Rodney Adams. That's where he ended up, former Vikings 5th round pick out of Southern Florida. Marquise Goodwin, the track star, is also there. I don't think that he's a lock to make the roster, but we'll see. And they also do have Daz Newsome, a guy that I liked in the draft process, coming out of North Carolina in the 6th round. And then they still have 7 tight ends, because, of course, why not? Jimmy Graham, ironically, they have a guy named Jake Butt on the roster, who the Vikings probably should have drafted instead of Ben Gedeon back in the day in terms of 4th round Michigan guys. But Jake Butt is on the roster, which is funny because Jimmy Graham is also Butt, and he's here. So the corpse of Jimmy Graham is there. Cole Kmet, the high draft pick last year, is still in the building. And sort of whatever there. Tyrone Wheatley Jr., I didn't know that he was a tight end. Anyway, running back wise, David Montgomery really came into his own last year. I don't want to say that he's a stud, but he is pretty damn solid. He was one of the reasons why Kenny Nwangu did not get the time of day in Ames. Tariq Cohen is coming back. Yeah, you forgot about him because he was injured last year. I think that he's a really special third down back as well as a special teams guy. Damian Williams coming over from Kansas City. And then you got Khalil Herbert, our guy from Virginia Tech, who only put up jacked up stats at Virginia Tech because of Christian Darrisaw. Yeah, that's right. Defensively, I mean, the Bears still have some good parts, even though Sean Diassi, I do not know this man. Why'd you get rid of Chuck? Huh? The defense wasn't the problem last year, man. Yeah, and the OC in name only, Bill Sharks with friggin' laser beams on their head. And Matt Nagy, fake-ass Brad Childress, going to get his ass fired this year. I can't wait. Can't wait. But the defense still is pretty damn good. Akeem Hicks up front. Khalil Mack. So I have this theory about the wire, and it applies to Khalil Mack. Something can be very good and also overrated, and Khalil Mack is that too. I mean, some outlets still think that Khalil Mack is the best edge rusher in the game. Like, no. Ask Khalil Mack what it's like to go up against Brian O'Neill. 0. Goose egg. D'Angelo Russell sacks in 5 games against good old number 75. That's right. Roquan's a solid inside linebacker. Trevathan is still doing the damn thing, a holdover from the Fangio years. Robert Quinn, yeah, okay. And also in the defensive line, they didn't really replace Roy Robertson-Harris, who I thought was a really solid rotational interior defensive lineman. He went down to Jacksonville. I mean, they still have Eddie Goldman, sure, but the rest of it is meh. And then cornerback-wise, so after Fuller went to Denver, they still have Jalen Johnson, who I really liked out of Utah last year. He did have shoulder and labrum issues, and that cropped up again last year. But I think that he has a chance to be a really solid cornerback, and they need him because you got the leftovers of Desmond Trufant, who had a lost season in Detroit after being let go from Atlanta. He's just not the same player he used to be. Artie Burns was never the player that he was back in Pittsburgh. Well, was supposed to be in Pittsburgh when he was a first-round pick. And then the rest of the secondary, like Eddie Jackson is a stud, yes. Gibson is sort of whatever. Bush is whatever. So they could have a tough time. They could. Like, if Khalil Mack loses another step like he's been doing precipitously the last couple of years, that pass rush could hurt. Akeem Hicks isn't getting any younger either. So then I think that secondary could easily be exposed. Well, it's a good thing that Pat O'Donnell is a solid punter because he's going to be used a lot. He's going to be used a lot, by the way, because this offense, I think it's going to be another frustrating season for Allen Robinson because either Andy Dalton's going to be throwing him the ball or it's going to be rookie Justin Fields just pooping himself behind that porous offensive line. David Montgomery, maybe he can't get anything going up front. I do like Tevin Jenkins, but one man does not make an offensive line. You look at Denver and Garrett Bull. So it could be a tough season. Could be really tough. I don't think that overall the Bears roster got better than last year, even though they did make that big, strong move for Justin Fields and they added Tevin Jenkins. So I think that Matt Nagy, I think that Ryan Pace are dead man walking, and I think it's going to be a fresh restart with Chicago. That's probably why they're moving to Arlington, get a fresh start. Go ahead, because Chicago, like, they're trying to clean up the city, and they're getting rid of all this trash. Crooked Chicago Bears. Man. And you talk to Bears fans, and they think that they're going to win the division. Like, they think it's going to be a 3-horse race with the Vikings and the Packers. Now, it is the Vikings, it is the Packers, even with Aaron Rodgers, it is the Bears, and then it's the Lions. And that's really about it. Like, I would be absolutely floored if this team ends up over 500. I think this team is probably going to end up 5-12-ish. And then Justin Fields is going to be thrown to the Wolves mid-season. So there you go. We mentioned a few days ago that the Jeff Gladney situation had been silent for a while since he turned himself in April on felony family violence assault charges. But now some significant developments as Gladney's case will now go before a grand jury. Will Raggett Sports Illustrated has the write-up. Quote, after several months of uncertainty, we have an update on the legal proceedings for Vikings cornerback Jeff Gladney following his early April arrest on charges of felony family violence assault. Texas prosecutors will present their case against Gladney to a grand jury on Thursday, July 27th. 22nd, according to a report from Brian Murphy for Purple Insider. The prosecutors will be the only ones presenting evidence for the grand jury. 9 of the 12 jurors are needed to get an indictment, and results will be announced within 2 days. If Gladney is indicted, he will be arraigned in court and will have a trial date set. Now, grand juries are generally formalities. If prosecutors didn't think they had enough of a case, they usually do not present. So, in all likelihood, Jeff Gladney is going to be indicted. A trial is probably going to be coming up. And he recently reposted all of his Viking stuff on Instagram and even has a football camp scheduled for the day after the grand jury. But if this does go to trial, I think Gladney will likely be placed on the commissioner's exempt list. There is precedent for that, and the Vikings would not count Gladney on the 90-man roster. But we'll keep you updated with the latest as the story develops. The Minnesota Fighting Vikings are one of the most stacked Vikings rosters that I've seen in a hot second, and the Vikings are Super Bowl contenders despite the thoughts of the national media jabroni haircuts and the haters, all the haters out there. No, purple is going to reign in 2021. And now a Viking is finally putting that out on wax, saying the quiet part out loud. Team captain and 4-time Pro Bowler Anthony Barr, quote, "I really do believe that we have a Super Bowl winning team this year," Barr told Fox 9. "Obviously, there's a lot of steps to get to that point, and I've been through good seasons and bad seasons with this team. It's almost like every other year with Barr and Zimmer. But every time we've had a tough year, we've always bounced back." Yes. "I really feel like this year is going to be special," end quote. And I know some Vikings fans will be like, why'd you put that out in the universe, huh? Why'd you put a target on our back? This is like Vince Young calling the 2011 Eagles a dream team. No. What is wrong with expectations and standards, especially when they are honest? The Vikings should be favorites to win the North, even if the octogenarian Aaron Rodgers drags his old ass and hollow bones back to Green Bay. And it's not like the Vikings are, the 2020 Vikings at 1-5 is like, we're going to win the Super Bowl. No, this is not that situation. Every winner on that team feels the same way, by the way. Danielle, Kendricks, Harrison, Jefferson, Dalvin, all the rest. They all feel like they have the Super Bowl team this year. No cap. Absolutely none at all. The defense is going to rise. What's in on pretense, Mr. Wayne? Built from the inside out. Diesel, Dalvin Thompson, Michael Pierce, Neal is back. Superstars at every single level of this defense. If they sort out the cornerback room, they will be golden, pony boy. Offensively, they will finally, hopefully, praying, have a good young offensive line for the first time in forever. They have the number 2 running back in the National Football League, quickly going to become number 1 once Derrick Henry hits the wall. They have the number 1 and 8 wide receiver in the National Football League. Kirk Cousins is going to be protected. Top 5 offense, top 5 defense, and special teams will not kick the Vikings in the nuts. Woo! I mean, come on. What else is there? Jerome Barty at the end of the season. You know it. I know it. Anthony Barr knows it. I love the confidence because he is just spitting facts right there. The Vikings are a Super Bowl contending team, but there's a ways to go. And every single player that was on this team last year is starving. They're hungry. Get your chili hot, boys. That kind of hurts because of how they were embarrassed last year. Zimmer was embarrassed. Patterson was embarrassed. Every single player was embarrassed. So they're going to clap back on the entire league. It's going to be great, man. It's going to be a good time. So I actually respect Anthony Barr for putting that out there. Pro Football Reference did something really cool. So they've been grinding it, and they went back and watched every single game before 1982 and tallied up the sacks. It's just a lot of labor went into this, and it was great because the sack didn't become an official stat until 1982. So prime Purple People Eaters, Alan Page, Jim Marshall, Carl Eller, Gary Larson, they didn't get their due. They did not get their due in terms on the Pantheon, because when you talk about defensive linemen, it's all about that sacks, no tackles. So you have to stack that up against their people from different generations. And wow. So now, the unofficial all-time sack list, the Vikings have 6. They have 6 players on there. They had 3 before. Now they got 6, which is really, really damn amazing. But Bruce Smith's still the sack king, respect, with 200. Reggie White as well up there with 198. Both came in after 82. But also, Deacon Jones. Now, it had been talked about almost like an urban legend for years that Deacon Jones had like 300 sacks or something since he played from 61 to 74 before sack became a stat, but he just got after it. So 173.5, wow. It is really damn amazing what he did. Kevin Green still up there. Respect the late, great Kevin Green. Yes. And then You get into some of the Vikings. So you got Chris Dolman at 7, 150.5, the late great Chris Dolman. And then they got Alan Page at 148.5, Jack Youngblood at 151.52. I mean, these are names. Like, these are longtime Hall of Famers and luminaries of the game, and you just really didn't know how they actually stacked up. So Alan Page is the all-time leader for defensive tackles. Every guy above him is edge rusher. Now, it had formerly been John Randall, 137.5. So if you're a little bit younger of a Vikings fan, and like me, who didn't get to see Alan Page play, but now you just think about how great John Randall was. 137.5 sacks over his career. Alan Page had more. That's how dominant Alan Page was back in the day. And beyond that, so yes, John Randall's on there, Jared Allen, 136. And then you get down to Jim Marshall and Carl Eller. So Carl Eller, 133.5. Jim Marshall, the Captain Die Hard guy, a 130.5. So between Marshall, Eller, and Page, three pillars of the fearsome foursome of the Purple People Eaters, wow, they have over 400 combined sacks. That is just crazy, man. So it's really awesome what Pro Football Focus did here, because if you're a fan of the game, fan of football history, I mean, just seeing some of these guys stack up, it's just amazing. I don't even know who Al Baker is. Who the heck is Al? And I like football. Who is Coy Bacon? I don't know who Coy Bacon is, but I am in. I need to get me a Coy Bacon jersey. He only made the Pro Bowl 3 times. He was with the Rams, the Chargers. Man, that's great. But yeah, it just speaks to the Vikings' greatness in terms of getting after on the defensive line. That's why 2020 was so embarrassing. But 6 of the all-time top 25 in sacks. Freudian slip. Amazing. Just absolutely great. But also Alan Page. Woo! The all-time reigning, defending, defensive tackle sack leader. Great. It's great, man. All hail Justice Alan Page. I love it, man. But your thoughts? PFF updated the all-time sack list unofficially, but I'll accept this. I will accept this. So when you're talking about Minnesota fighting Vikings to build around for the future, the obvious one is Justin friggin' Jefferson, and also Daniil, the real deal Hunter, if the herniated disc in his neck is going to be good to go. But who's the third? PFF did up a list of 3 players to build around for all 32 NFL teams headed into the 2021 season. The MF and tripod. Let's go. So who is it for the Vikings? Scrolling and enhancing. We'll look at some of these other ones too, because they're kind of fun. So the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Daniil, the real deal Hunter, and Brian, the real deal O'Neal. We need to differentiate. I mean, yeah. Dalvin Cook is one of the best runners in the National Football League, but this is PFF, and we hate running backs. But also, yes, Dalvin is 26 and has history of injuries at the position. Blah, 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 blah. Jefferson, 90.4 PFF grade as a rookie in 2020. And O'Neal, career high 78 PFF grade in his 3rd season in the NFL last year, are safer bets for providing long-term value offensively in Minnesota. Vikings will certainly welcome back Hunter along the defensive line in 2021. He earned a career-high 89 PFF grade with 88 quarterback pressures in his last action in 2019. Hunter should be entering his prime at 26 years old. Now, with the Vikings, I mean, who else would you go with? Maybe you say Kellen Mond, but he's a 3rd-round pick. He's a rookie. He's really unproven. I think that's a little bit out there. Dalvin, you could say yes, but they bring up good points. Even though PFF hates running backs, Dalvin is 26. He's never played a full 16 or 17 game season in his career, so that's always going to be an issue, right? And the cliff for running backs comes up pretty quick. And who else would you really build around? Bradbury hasn't stepped up. Darisaw and Wyatt Davis are rookies. Ezra Cleveland, TBD in year 2. I mean, Dalvin Tomlinson, you like him a lot. You do like him a lot, but do you build around a 3-tech nose tackle? Maybe. I think Eric Kendricks would be a good one, but he's getting up there in age as well. Harrison Smith is obviously much older. Cornerbacks-wise, I mean, who do you go with? I mean, Dantzler is still really TBD, so I do like these 3. O'Neal is your best offensive lineman. Cinch him up and pay him and keep him in purple for a long time. Daniil, if that neck is going to be good to go, he'll resume his place as one of the best, if not the best, edge rushers in the NFL. And then, of course, you got Justin friggin' Jefferson. Let's look at the Packers. I mean, they can't list Rodgers, right? Like, Rodgers is 75 years old. Devontae Adams, Jair Alexander, and Bakhtiari. So, Bakhtiari, respect. He is one of the best left tackles in the game. Jair Alexander, again, begrudging respect, because I love Jair Alexander coming out of Louisville, so yes. And then Devontae Adams. I mean, I guess he's going to be on the Raiders next year, so whatever. Oh, they even talk about Jordan Love. That's really funny. Let's look at the crooked Chicago Bears. Come on. So Fields, Allen Robinson, Khalil Mack. Well, Allen Robinson is sneaky getting up there in age. Same thing with Khalil Mack. So I'm sort of whatever on that. I mean, you could go Jalen Smith, except his shoulders do creep me out just a little bit. Justin Fields, I get it. First round pick, going to be the future franchise quarterback, or maybe not, depending on that offensive line. So, who else would you really go with on the Bears? Maybe Cheeseburger Eddie Jackson, maybe, but other than that, nah. Detroit Lions, Frank Ragnow, Penny Sewell, Taylor Decker. Up front, the Hogs, the Hosses, yes. So I do agree with this list because what else are you going to do in Detroit? You're not going to Goff. You're not going to DeAndre Swift. The wide receivers are garbage. Maybe you could say Jeff Okudah if his rookie season wasn't so garbage. But Taylor Decker is a known commodity, a very solid left tackle. Penny Sewell has a chance to be a generational prospect. Frank Ragnow has already established himself as one of the best young centers in the game and also just got himself paid. So, yeah, I fully understand it there. But this is a really fun exercise because you're looking at three. Oh, the Colts, Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner. I love that. Actually, F it. Let's look at all of them. We got time to burn this offseason, son. Falcons, Ridley, Grady Jarrett, Kyle Pitts. I still stand by that Grady Jarrett is one of the most underrated three techs in the game. He is. And Kyle Pitts hasn't played it down yet, but you're certainly going to roll with that. Ridley and Pitts could be legit. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Humphrey, and Ronnie Stanley. Yeah, I do agree with that. Bills, the Bills are pretty good. Josh Allen, Diggs, and Tre'Davious White, three absolute studs. Josh Allen might get Mahomes money. He might be up there for sure. Carolina Panthers. So they got DJ Moore, Brian Burns, and Taylor Moton. So Moton's playing on the franchise tag. Brian Burns is that undersized edge rusher that you don't really hear about. Maybe if you play fantasy and IDP, Brian Burns is going to be that guy, but he's a stud. I loved him coming out of Florida State, even though he was literally a 240-pound edge rusher at Florida State. He's like, whatever. And DJ Moore is one of the best-kept secrets in the game. Chicago, we talked about. Bengals, Burrow, Bates, Chase. Yeah, I can get on board with that. Browns, Baker, Garrett, and Denzel. I'm still not sold on Baker. Maybe Baker with Stefanski paired long term, maybe that could work out, but I just feel like you could do better. I don't know. He's so hot and cold, and he does have a great situation. He's got the best offensive line in football. He's got a great running game. OBJ is back this year, so I guess we'll see. Dallas, triplets. Well, not really triplets, but Dak, CeeDee, and Amari. No Zeke. I'm surprised that Zach Martin is up there. He is 30 years young. DeMarcus Lawrence is also getting up there in age as well, so I get it. Broncos, Simmons, Judy, Chubb. No Cortland Sutton? Really? You're going to go with Jerry Jeudy over Cortland Sutton? Okay. Or no Patrick Surtain? Really? Or no Garrett Bowles? Come on. It should be Simmons, Chubb, and Bowles. Probably. Let's see. Packers covered. Houston. Oh, boy. So Tunsil and get rid of everyone else. When Justin Reed and Brandon Cooks are the two of the three guys that you're building around, no. Colts we talked about. Jaguars, Lawrence, Josh Allen, Laviska Shenault. Yeah, there really isn't a ton there. Some of the other guys, a little bit older. You could say maybe Miles Jack, except he's starting to put on some mileage as well. Chiefs, Mahomes, Hill, Chris Jones. I get that they left Travis Kelce off the list because he turns 32. Raiders, Waller, Colton Miller, Derek Carr. I wouldn't build around Carr, but also who would you build around? That's a good question. Chargers, Herbert, Bosa, and Derwin James. That's sick. That's if Derwin's back healthy. That is pretty good, even though Justin Herbert was not the 2020 Offensive Rookie of the Year. Rams, Donald, Ramsey, and Stafford. So Aaron Donald, even though he's up there in age, same thing with Stafford. They're just going to build around that. I suppose since they don't have any draft picks, they literally do not have first-round picks for the next decade. Dolphins, Howard, Waddle, and Tua. Agree with Howard and Waddle. Tua, I don't know. I don't know about Tua yet. Vikings we talked about. Patriots, J.C. Jackson, Onwenu, and Mac Jones. Onwenu, fifth-round pick out of Michigan last year, played guard and tackle, was an absolute beast. J.C. Jackson, restricted free agent. He's going to get paid once they get rid of Gilmore's contract. And Mac Jones, who knows what he's going to be as a rookie. Saints, Thomas, Ramchick, Marcus Williams. No one, Michael Thomas. Yeah, Marcus Williams. I'm surprised they didn't put Kamara, since he's basically a wide receiver, not really a running back. Giants, Bradbury, Leonard Williams, Galladay. Yeah, I can't think of anyone else I'd really want. Babytron on his second deal. Leonard Williams got paid. Bradbury, meh. Jets, Wilson, Quinnen, and Becton, yes. Yeesh. I was going to say AVT over Quinnen, but no, Quinnen has a chance to be a real beast inside. Eagles, Devontae, Goddard, and Cox. I don't know if I would take Goddard. Like, he's good. I don't know if you build around him. Like, I don't even know if they're going to extend him. So I would go Devontae. I would go Fletcher Cox, even though he's getting up there. Do you go Jalen Hurts? Yeah. But there isn't really anyone else exciting on the Eagles. Steelers, Watt, Fitzpatrick, Claypool. Yes, hard to agree there. Niners, Kittle, Lance, Bosa. Yeah, that one's pretty easy. Seahawks, Russ. Still Russ, huh? DK and Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams gets all this hype for being such a great blitzing safety, except he's basically a defensive end. He's basically a defensive end linebacker. But, I mean, would you leave Russ off this list because he's getting up there in age? Like, would you put Tyler Lockett on there? Lockett's great, man. I love Lockett. Bucks, Godwin, Wirfs, Evans. I guess, because, no. I would go, it's PFF, so obviously the wide receiver's going to be up there. I would go Godwin, Wirfs, and Devin White. Or would you go Winfield Jr.? Even though Winfield Jr. didn't really grade out that great as a rookie, and PFF is sort of whatever about safeties, unless it's Anthony Harris. Tennessee Titans, Brown, Simmons, Byard. Wow, that is a great trio. And yeah, Derrick Henry is a running back who's just, and Julio's getting up there in age. You're not going to build around Tannehill, but AJ, Simmons, and Jeffrey Simmons is going to get paid, by the way. It's really good. Washington, McLaurin, Chase Young, and John Allen. I've already said this a bunch. Washington has the best defensive line in the game. Like, they are really, really good. Plus Sweat and Payne. Yeah, it's good. But McLaurin, Scary Terry's legit. There we go. So that's going through and looking at three players that PFF says build around and blah, blah, blah. Vikings going with Justin freaking Jefferson, going with Brian O'Neill, going with Danielle Hunter, which makes sense. I'm really good at alphabetical order. Like, how did I get to the I's? I. But what are your thoughts on their thoughts? Who else would you build around on the MF and tripod? The biggest question about the Minnesota Fighting Vikings offseason is, will Danielle Hunter be healthy for the 2021 season? Now, apparently he's happy. They appeased him by redoing his deal. Everyone is playing nice. So Danielle Hunter is going to be in training camp, hitting the ground running as he looks to come back from the herniated disc in his neck. But there's still a lot of questions. I mean, it is a very serious injury, very serious surgery. But Danielle, his coach Brandon Jordan put out a video of him putting in that work down in Texas and just getting after it. I love it, man. Where Danielle Hunter is quietly one of my favorite Vikings, just getting it, coming in from that third round, just a physical freak, 4.5 sacks in his career at LSU, and then boom. That's why you always bet on traits over production, and Andre Patterson has worked to make Danielle Hunter one of the best edge rushers in the game, if not the best. That's right. Even though he doesn't get the respect from the national media, jabroni haircuts, but he's great. But there's obviously he looks awesome here, and someone this big should not be allowed to move this quick and fast, right? But there's a couple things to notice here. Number one, a lot of these drills are him not coming out of a stance. It's about 50-50. So, is this foreshadowing? Are the Vikings going to use Danielle as a stand-up outside linebacker? Are the Vikings going to run some more three-man fronts? Who really knows? But also, you look at a lot of the snaps. He's rushing from the right side, right? So, I'll pause here. We got to bring it in. All right, so there's the left side. There we go. His normal spot is left defensive end. But, here we go. Oh, looky. Here comes Hookie. So a handful of these snaps are him rushing from the right side, which is really interesting. Where the Vikings, after they got rid of Everson Griffin, it was TBD what they were going to do with Danielle because he got hurt in training camp. But a part of me thinks maybe they would have moved him to right defensive end, a.k.a. the blind side, to take advantage of him getting one-on-one matchups, yes, against the left tackle, but still one-on-one. It beats being on the left defensive end side against right tackles and tight ends and fullbacks, and you're dealing with the trash of generally the strong side of the offense, right? But, I mean, when Everson missed games in 2018, there you go. Daniil actually moved to right defensive end primarily from his normal left defensive end spot, and Stephen Weatherly, who could be the Vikings' initial starting defensive end, in a left defensive end. Now, I think that move was a lot more about Daniil. They felt good about him on both sides. Stephen Weatherly, I think they felt better about him at left defensive end, but we'll see. I mean, it could be a spot where Daniil Hunter is being moved around from side to side, and I know some people will complain, it's like, oh, why are they doing this? Why are they wasting Daniil Hunter? Well, maybe one of the perks or one of the things that was sort of wink nudge agreed upon in his contract reduction or contract redo was, hey, we'll put you in more advantageous spots where you can rack up more sacks, get more pressures on the quarterback, and get yourself paid, whether here or somewhere else. So moving Daniil to right defensive end, squaring up against left tackles, yes, that would help. Having Daniil as a stand-up linebacker where he's less easy to be accounted for on the line and just getting after it that way, it would be good. Now, I understand you're messing with a good thing. If something's if it's not broken, break it. It is that mentality. But I say, you do have one of the best edge rushers in the game. Utilize him all over the place. If the team has a really good right tackle and a really porous left tackle, like the Vikings don't play the Eagles this year, but if they had that situation where you had Lane Johnson right tackle and whoever at left tackle, maybe Andre Dillard, yes, I would attack Daniil. I would attack the left tackle Dillard with Daniil that way, or just mix it up. Mix it up, man. So either way, Daniil looks healthy, good to go. Where the major concern, beyond that neck and potential re-injury, is potential for nerve damage, especially coming off of surgery. We've seen that with players before, but he looks good to go. He looks jacked. He doesn't look like there's any atrophy there. So I'm fired up, man. Because that was a major concern as the Cold War with Daniil and the Vikings just simmered on and on and on, and now they finally came to a nice resolution where Daniil basically got the last couple years lopped off his contract. The Vikings will have to pay him a monster roster bonus next year if he's on the team, or extend him, or trade him, or do whatever. But yeah, it's going to be a phenomenal season. It's going to be a magical season for Daniil. I think he's going to be comeback player of the year as well as defensive player of the year. 23 sacks. How about that? How about that? Let's go. Let's go, man. But your thoughts on our thoughts, Daniil?
The music for the Purple for the Win podcast was created and produced by Deeb. To hear more of his tracks, check out soundcloud.com/Deeb.
We needed to get this right.
Mm-hmm.